I was talking to Kevin Zirk yesterday actually, and I was talking about this same subject. This is such an important subject. Actually, this is going to be my talk today because I can't imagine anything being more important than what I'm talking to you guys about right now. You've got to teach people how to close. I said, Kevin, I was talking about, I basically was, rehearsing what I'm doing right now with him yesterday, and I did it with Brian on the way in here too. I said, Kevin, do me a favor. Because his ratios are 1-to-1 basically. He doesn't have a lot of people that are closing, and Kevin's really, really good at the business. He's fantastic at Primerica. You put him on 10 qualified appointments, right? He's closing 8, 9, 10 out of them, probably 10. Very rarely would he not close, except that he's not teaching his people how to close like he closes. Not yet anyways, okay? My intention was to get him to do that because if he would do that, his numbers would go through the roof, right? No question in my mind about that. So I said, I said to him, what do you say? I said, Kevin, what do you say when somebody says, I want to think it over? And I said, no, I want to role play that. I want to see what you actually say. I just want to check to see what he's doing, right? I'm checking him like I'm telling you to check, right? So he says to me, he goes, what I say is 30 to 45 days long enough for you to think it over. You know that close, right? Because what we're going to do, you got to get qualified, and if you get qualified, then you can decide whether you want to go ahead or not, which is fine. That's a way of doing it. But I said I wouldn't do it that way. Okay, this is how I would do it. If somebody told me I want to think it over, all right, I would say, if I was talking to Kurt and Donna, and Kurt says, I want to think it over, Hector, I'd say, and assuming I've already presented, like the solution, like let's say that Kurt had right now, he had a $150,000 policy, he was spending $75 a month for that. And he had debt, and he was going to be in debt until the year 2045. You know how that works out, right? And, he wasn't saving any real money, right? He was saving a little bit of money. I would say, I understand how you feel that you'd like to think of, can I ask you a couple of questions, Kurt? Which part of this do you want to think of? Is it that I'm giving you $500,000 for $85 a month, and right now you're paying $75 for $150, and that's about, it's almost like 3.5 times more protection for just basically $10 or more. Is that the part you need to think over? Does that make sense to you? That makes sense to you that you... I know, but it's $10 more right now. You're already spending that. And then I'm going to save you money by doing this loan and all this other thing I'm doing. We're going to end up saving you $600 a month on your mortgage, right? Okay? And I'm going to get you out of debt from... instead of the year 2045 to the year 2012, and we're going to save you about $68,000 interest. Do you need to think that part over? Plus, we're going to save you $600 a month, which is going to make investing in the life insurance like a non-issue, right? Because you're going to have the extra money. That part, do you need to think that part over? Okay. And then what we're going to end up doing, you're going to be able to retire at age 58 instead of 75. Do you need to think that part over? Now, Kurt, is there any part that you really need to think over truly? What makes sense then now? To move forward, absolutely. Let's go ahead. I said, so that's the way I would do it. Why? Because what I just did is I put Kurt, by asking questions, in a position to examine what he actually said. When somebody says to you, I want to think it over, what they're saying is, I already made a mistake, you showed me I made a mistake, and I'm afraid of making another mistake. Would you please show me how I'm not making a mistake so I can go forward? I really do want to go ahead, but I'm so afraid of making another mistake. Could you make me feel more comfortable about the new choice I'm making? That's a real issue, right? That is always the real issue. So when somebody says, I want to think about it, they're not saying I want to, because they never do they? Do they ever think about it? They don't ever do that. What they really do is they're really testing you, see if you're worth a crap, okay? Right. You have any skill at all. Because that makes 99% of everybody else go away. Okay? That's why they do it. We do it ourselves. Oh, I like to think about it. You don't want to think about it. You're not going to think about it. That's ridiculous, okay? So what I just did was a technique, right? And I just taught you a new technique on how to overcome I want to think about it. You see? Now imagine if I got everybody to be able to do that just like that, how many more sales will be closed when we hear I want to think about it? You with me? Imagine doing that over and over and over with people. And then they get an appointment and they do that. So you've got to convince them that they need life insurance, okay? Okay. Okay, well then let me show you how to overcome that, all right? Because that's a big issue for people, right? That's a very, it's a true statement. Today, a lot of people, unfortunately, I'd say probably in excess, probably close to 60% of the people we run across today don't have any life insurance, okay? So that's a big issue. How do we overcome that objection? It's very simple. All right. What you've got to do is you've got to ask questions. So if let's say I'm sitting with Mike and Susie Mendoza, and they don't have any insurance right now, they're not spending any money. But how many kids do you guys have, Mike? You got 4 kids. Okay, and let's assume that you're a normal person, and Mike, your current income right now is $60,000 a year, right? Okay, and Susie's is what? Like say 40,000. Okay, does that happen a lot? That's about normal, right? Okay. And right now you don't have any kids. So let me just explain to you why insurance. Because right now you're not spending money and you're kind of having a hard time. Why should I spend money on that? I'm not spending money on that right now. Well, the first question I need to ask you first of all is of that $60,000 a year that you make, okay, is that important to your household? If all of a sudden that went away, and now Susie and the 4 kids are forced to live on 40 grand, how does that work for them? They're going to have a challenge, aren't they? That means that they may have to what? Sell the home, a lot of issues, right? It's going to create a lot of turmoil in the family. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Okay, so in addition to you being a husband and a father, you're a money machine, okay? That's what you are. We all are. You're a money machine. Okay, so if you're a money machine, then Mike, when that goes away, if you had $600,000 in liquid money where you had it invested and it could put off at 10%, 60 grand, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Then I would say, you're self-insured. If something happens, Mike, how much of the 600 grand do you have accumulated right now? 50 grand? Okay, not even that. So basically, right now you're dramatically underinsured. All right, because all we want to do, the whole point of life insurance, Mike, is to replace loss of income. That's all it is. That's the point of life insurance. There is no other point but that. That's why life insurance, to replace loss of income. There is no other reason to buy life insurance but to replace loss of income. Or if you have a business and a partner dies, that's a whole, but it's still loss of something, okay? So that's the reason for life insurance, loss of income. So all of a sudden now, if you die, it's $5,000 a month, right? Stops coming in the family. So how do we replace that $5,000 a month, Mike, if you die? If you don't have the money? There's only one way to do that. That's if we do $600,000 of life insurance. At 10%, Mike, that's going to get put off $60,000, $60K a year, which is $5K a month. You with me? That's how I came up with that number. Does that make sense to you? Yes. So this is going to cost you $150 a month. So for $150 a month, your family's going to get $5,000 a month indefinitely. So if you die tomorrow, let's say your kids they're still young, they're still going to be in the home for at least another 5 to 10 to 15 years, and then Susie hopefully is going to live another how long? A long time, right? Does that make sense? So we want to be able to have that $5,000 a month coming in for as long as is necessary. Okay? Does that make sense? Well, that's a really good question. That's a good point. The point is, do you know the date of your death? Okay, but I understand that. How many people that are driving in a car that are going to get in a car accident and die, how many of those probably feel as good as you do, but they're not going to make it home tonight? Okay, and we never know if that's going to be us or somebody else, right? So why would you risk that if you could solve it for $150 a month? Because let me ask you one more question. What are you paying for your auto insurance right now? How many cars do you have? And what's the value of those 2 cars combined? Okay, $100,000 worth of cars, and what are you paying per month to insure those cars? So $200 a month to insure those cars. So you're telling me you're willing to pay $200 for $100K, but not $150 for $600? And you're also saying that replacing your car is more important than replacing your income.
Yeah, but Hector, insurance is the law, man. You got to have car insurance. You don't have to have life insurance.
Yeah, the only people that have life insurance are the people that really, truly care about their families, though. You're afraid to say it, but what do you have to lose if you haven't closed them? Why not? What do I have to lose right now? If he's already giving me a hard time, I have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain by being direct. Everything to gain and nothing to lose. Nothing. Because what I'm really trying to do is get Mike to see how his way of thinking makes no sense. That's my intention. And I'm doing that through asking questions. I'm not going to guilt him into it, right? I would say that, but normally I'm not going to guilt him into that. I'm going to point out. And I'd say, and your home right now is worth what? $500K. And what do you pay for homeowners insurance? To replace in case your house gets burned down or something like that. $800 a year, which is about $70 a month. So right now, you're paying $270 a month to protect a car that can be replaced, or cars that can be replaced, and a house that can be replaced, but you're not willing to spend $150 to replace something that's irreplaceable. Yeah, well then, if they're really at them the first time and I'm just picking up the information, I say, look, I'm going to come back with a proposal, and then we're going to talk about this, but let me just ask you a question. If I come back with a proposal that comfortably protects your family, and it's affordable and it fits into your budget, without causing any undue stress, are you of the mind that you're going to do whatever it takes to protect your family and make sure that they're okay in case something happens to you? Can I get that commitment from you? Yeah. Okay, great. That's what I would do, right? You've got to be able to feel the situation, okay? Every situation is a little different. Sometimes you're going to close, and sometimes they're going to really fight you. And I'm not going to, if this is the first appointment, I'm not going to push, shush, unless, if I'm dealing with somebody that's just an idiot, then I probably will, okay, all right? But I'm going to be sensitive to the situation, and that's why you've got to go on a lot of appointments to start being able to feel what's the situation right now. Can I push or can I not push, okay? And then you ask the question. And by the way, it's how you ask the questions. It's the way you present it. You don't do it in a condescending way. You just go, the way you want to always do this, say, I'm having a hard time understanding this, Mike. Right now you're telling me you're willing to spend $270 for basically $100,000 automobiles that can be replaced in a home, but you're not willing to do that to protect your family to make sure they don't have any undue hardship. I'm really having a hard time understanding that thought process. Can you help me out? You see how that works? And I really mean that because I'm baffled. How can you get me to understand? Because I'm not understanding right now. Could you help me out? That's the way you do it. Okay? Can you help me out? Same thing like with those people, like I know there's a lot of Latinos in this room right now, right? Sancho, right? Oh, my question. Right. You should, every time you have an appointment, even if it's the first, you should absolutely, I always did that. You should send a thank you note thanking them for their time. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share you with what I've come up with you. I think you're going to be blown away by the changes and how it's going to affect your life in a positive way financially. Something like that where you're selling what you're going to do from when you come back. And then when you come back, they're going to be a lot more receptive. You should always do that. Yeah, what he's saying is that, because they're not hearing you on the broadcast, what he's saying is that when you go through all the questions in the thing that I created, it overcomes all these objections in it. But a lot of people I know don't use it, okay? But if you did, you would be asking all these questions so these wouldn't come up, okay? So they're already built in. I did that on purpose because I've been on a lot of appointments. I've closed tons of sales, and I knew that's the stuff would come up. So what you do, a great presentation has this in it, all right? All great presentations, in the body of the presentation, overcome all the most common objections throughout the presentation. So that when you get to the end, there's no fighting, there's no challenge. They just go forward. And it's the questions you ask throughout the presentation. Like those of you, I guess Kurt, when Kurt goes on appointments, I guarantee, because I train Kurt, when he gets to the end of the presentation, he doesn't get, I want to think about it. He doesn't get the objections that most people get because he deals with all of them as he's presenting. Mike, you don't either. But the problem is your people don't do that because you think they know how to do that, but they don't. That's why you've got to sit down with them and watch what they do. So you go, no, you've got to do this. You should be doing this, and then have them in the role play with them. You've got to get them doing not kind of what you're doing, exactly what you're doing, okay? They've got to do exactly. They've got to say the same thing at the same time and ask the same question. They've got to know how to do that. Again, it comes back to those of you that are closers in here, and there's a bunch of you that can close. You're closing. How many of you ever closed like 5 sales in a month? Every one of you should be making $1 million a year. If you've closed 5 sales in a month, you are a closer, okay? You should make $1 million a year. The only reason you wouldn't make $1 million is you too damn lazy to teach your people what you do. And I don't mean to be rude, but it's true. Because it always comes down to you being too lazy to do it. It's all it is, because it's boring as hell to do it. I understand that. I understand it's repetitions, but it's the thing that will set you free. Doing that will allow you. It's always the fundamentals, you guys. It's always the fundamentals. It's always, you guys, if your guys aren't doing well, they're actually showing up and trying, they're not fundamentally sound. They're not. Even though you think they are, they're not. You need to check them out. You know, that's what you've got to do.
Hector, most of these objections people create themselves.
Of course they create them, because they create them because of the presentations they do. The objections that come up, if you're having lots of objections on your appointments, you're creating them in the way that you present. I promise you that. You are making those objections happen, okay, because you're not presenting correctly. That's why working on the presentation is so important. Most of the time, not always, but the master majority, when I would do a presentation, at the end, it was good, okay, what do we do next? It was not like, oh, let me think. I didn't hear that. Me personally almost never heard that. They was just like, okay, what's the next step? Okay, and then we just go. Because I would deal with everything during again, coming back to that thing where, in the Sancho thing, where really what that is when a lot of times you'll run into people and they'll say, my family will take care of my family if something happens to me. Right? You ever heard that before? Yes. How many of you have heard that before? Okay, so every one of you, okay? So what do you do when that happens? It's not even so important what do you do. What do your people do when they hear that? Because are they going to hear it? Yep. For sure. They're going to hear it. That and a bunch of other ones, okay? So they hear, if I die, my wife and kids, my parents will take care of them. Really? That's pretty interesting. Can I ask you a question, Bill? If your parents are going to take care of them, how do you feel about the fact that you're going to put the burden, financial burden, of your family on your family when that happens? How does that make you feel? Well, that's the way we do things. We're okay with that. So what you're saying to me then is that you have the ability to not have your family be burdened with that for basically $100 a month. You could eliminate, right, the burden of supporting your family. But for $100 a month, you're not willing to do that. I'm not quite understanding that. Can you explain that to me? I'm going to make him explain to me why he's thinking that way, right? That's my whole point here. I'm not understanding that. That's just the way you do it. Well, if you're willing to burden your family, right, when you die, why not do it now? Why wait? Why wouldn't you just have your family support you now? Why would you wait until you died to have your family support? Why wouldn't you do it now? It would make your life easier, right? Well, no, I couldn't do that. You can't do it now, but you're going to do it after you die? I don't understand that. Why? What's the difference? Because you're not going to see it? You think you're not going to see it? Hey, why would I not say that? He's not going to buy anyways.
That's right.
What do I care? I want him to feel and understand the absurdity of his thought process. That's my intention. You with me? I want him to see how absurd that is. Now you're going, I could never do that. Well, that's why you don't close. That's why you don't close anybody, because you're afraid to ask. Look, I care about his family. I care about him taking care of. And he could afford that. That's not a question of he's like so strapped he can't afford 100. He's not wanting to afford that. And I would also go back to, look, right now, and I asked the same question I did earlier. Right now, how much are your cars worth? And he would say, oh, $100K. And how much are you paying to insure those? $200 a month. So that's $2,400 a year you're paying to protect two cars that could easily be replaced. But you're not willing to spend $100 a month to take care of your family. How do you rationalize that? See, you're hearing this, but if you're going to become a closer, you've got to learn how to do that, or you're going to go tons of appointments and get frustrated. And then now assuming I've got a trainee with me, and this is coming up, and I'm able to do this, and I'm able to close a sale, I show him what I do, and he goes, oh my God, that was awesome. Now I taught that new trainee, now he or she can close. When they find that same objection, right, and we might have it a couple times while we're doing the training process, they're going to see exactly how I handle it, and they're going to know how to overcome that, and then when they're training, they're going to be able to do the same thing instead of just being frustrated. Well, I couldn't close them. You could close them, but your technique is so bad you can't close them. It's not that you can't close them, it's that your technique is not up to snuff. Look, the only time you don't close is when there's what? A condition, right? A condition would lead to not closing, means they absolutely don't have any money. They can't do it. They're filing bankruptcy right now. The guy just lost his job. There's no money. That's a condition. But the majority of people don't have conditions like that. Okay? So your skill level is going to determine what kind of closing ratio you have. More important, if you start teaching your people to do the same thing, then all of a sudden they're going to start closing like crazy, right? And there's no reason to not have, like right now, Jose, you're closing about 10, 15 sales a month every month. But you should have 10, 15, 20 guys doing that. Not just you. Not just you doing that. You should have a bunch of people doing that, right? All kinds of people doing that. The only way that could happen is if you teach them how to do that. You got to stop telling people what they should do. You should do this, you should do that. You got to show them how to do it, not what, how. All your training should be revolved around how to do it. Okay? All you do when you tell people what they should do is frustrate them. Because they want to do it. They know that I should do this, I should close, I should overcome, I should recruit people, but how? How do I do it? They know they should set appointments, but how do they do it? They know. And when people are not doing it, they're showing up. You guys we all have those people that show up to the meetings, but they don't do anything. You have any of those people in your base shop? They're there every week, right? I mean, they never miss, right? Yep. And you think they know what to do, but they do not. Or they'd be doing it. Exactly. You are in the false assumption that they know what to do, and they don't. Because nobody is so dumb that they would show up to these meetings every week unless they had a desire to do this. When you show up, when I have people show up to my meetings, you guys being here, you are telling me in no uncertain terms, Hector, I want to get better. I want to learn how to do this. I want to be more successful. Would you please show me how to do it? And stop telling me what to do. Examine your meetings. Examine your meetings. Pay attention to what you're doing at your meetings. If it's a bunch of what to do and a lot of motivation, you got a problem. Because guess what you're never going to build? A bunch of independent leaders that become RVPs. That's what you're never going to build. Because what you want, guys, why do you want to teach people how to close? Because right now, Mike Mendoza is a closer extraordinaire. Kurt Joyner is a closer. Alan Souza is a closer. I mean, Steve, you're a closer, right? You can close. You know how to get people to say yes. I don't have to worry about you leaving because I know you know how to make money. You with me? What I got to get you doing is teaching other people how to close like you know how to close. If I could get, the only reason you guys aren't doing a lot more business, why you're not exploding your business, is when you do recruit people, you never really teach them how to close. Not really. They get a little bit of it. Or you say, listen to this tape or something like that, but you never actually take the time to make sure they can do it. If you would spend time every week doing that with the key individuals in your base shop, you would be shocked at how fast you could get your business going in the right direction and how the ratios will start changing. I promise you. I promise you. This is going to take, the problem with doing this is it takes this, all right? This is a little bit of a problem. All right, if I can write it in. It takes discipline to do that. It takes a lot of discipline, right? And that's the problem with it. This part of it. What everybody wants to do is recruit people and recruit that guy or gal that just does it without you helping them. Right? That's what you hope. That's what you're hoping for. Because you keep hearing winners win and losers lose, right? The right people just do it. That's a lie, by the way. Okay? That is not true. You know how many people have been blown out of Primerica because they didn't have adequate training, but that probably had the potential to be RVPs? What do you think that number is? It's gigantic, okay? Because the leadership's so damn lazy, they don't want to take the time to teach these people. That's what it is, okay? That's what it is. Nobody wants to hear that, but it's really true if you think about it. Because all you got to do is, Mike, if everybody could close and present like you, what would your business do? That'd be incredible, because you close everybody. Right? Who do you not, when you want to close somebody, Daniel, who do you not close? You close everybody. It's like a 90% plus. It's a huge. And a lot of your people are pretty good, but they're not you. Your intention has to be that everybody that's motivated becomes you. Can do everything just like you. Can close just like you. And if they're showing up and they're motivated, right, and they're making an effort, man, they deserve your time to teach them to be like you. They deserve it. Because you don't need a lot of people to build a big bake shop. You have a few people that can really, really close and can. What happens too, folks, when people learn how to close is they get really confident. They start having lots of confidence. And confidence is what allows you to recruit people, by the way. It's your level of confidence that allows you to recruit people. So most people out there aren't confident, so they're having a hard time recruiting people because you have to be able to sit across the table from somebody and say, Michael, if you get in the business with me, I'm really good at this. I can close. You put me in front of qualified people, I'm going to do business with 8 out of 10. I'm probably going to recruit 2 or 3 of them. I'm a closer. I get results. So with your warm market, with your credibility, and the way that people trust you and like you, if you'll just get in with me and put me in front of those people and let me teach you how to become a closer like me and how to get results and how to make money, there's not a possibility on this God's green earth that you could fail. There's no way that you're not going to do extremely well with the kind of person you are right now and the kind of credibility you have. All you've got to do is trust me, put me in front of them, and I'll prove it to you. All right? Would you do that for me? If I could show you how you could go from where you are to double, triple, quadrupling your income, if you just follow me, can you think of any logical reason why you wouldn't get started with me and let's get busy and build you a business right now? Well, let's get going then, dude. Get your warm market list. Let's go see some people. See, if you could just look at somebody and with no uncertain terms say that because you're a closer, because you paid the price to be a closer, you should recruit tons of people. You should not let people say no to you. Now, you're not going to say that to everybody because some people don't have a lot of credibility. But if somebody had credibility, I'd be talking to them just like that, right? Because I'm a closer. And I know if I can get in their warm market and they have credibility that I'm going to be closing 8 out of 10 people, at least. A huge percentage. So then that's what I used to do, and I'd get out, and then I'd take a person like a Lynn Massey, who's a school teacher. His wife works at the school. They both do very well. In the community, they're respected. They was a coach before. Everything, man. That market, he puts me in that market. You kidding me? I'm going to close everybody. And when we go on 10, 12, 15 appointments, and we close like 8, 9, 90% of them, and every time I'm doing it, I said, do you see how easy that was? Do you see how smooth that went? Do you see how great that was? Did you see the kind of results? Imagine when I get you to the point, Lynn, when you can present like me and close like me, and I'm going to get you there. I'm going to work with you so you can present just like me, close just like me, get results just like me. I'm going to get you there, buddy. You go on 10, 15, 20 appointments. By the time we're done, you get your license. You're going to be so good that you're going to do it just like me, and you start recruiting people and you train them. You're going to get the same kinds of results, and you're going to explode your business. You're going to go to regional vice president probably in the next 12 to 18 months, and we're going to get your income from the 60, 70 grand you're making as a school teacher. We're going to get to the 150, 200, 300 grand or more. And we're going to teach you how to develop a bunch of people. Your future is so damn exciting. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, how exciting it is. Is that the way you're talking to people right now? I doubt it. Not most of you. That's the way I used to talk to people, just like that. Are you kidding me? You know how much fun we're going to have? You are going to hey, Kurt, you are going to get rich doing this, dude. I can't believe the kind of credibility you have. Everybody you meet with, man, they want to feed us. They're like, hey, how you doing? You are so unbelievably perfect for Primerica. The future for you here is just friggin' through the roof, man. You are going to become huge. I mean, we're going to do something incredible. I'm just like, I can't believe it. I'm so excited working with you, man. You know how few people are like you that have that kind of credibility? I'm telling you, dude, that credibility you have is worth millions of dollars, man. And we're going to do something undamn believable. The main thing we got to do, Kurt, is we got to go on a lot of appointments so I can make sure that you present, close, and do everything exactly like me. Because as soon as I clone you, right, like me, and do this, then you're going to be able to recruit and train people just like I am. You're going to get the same exact kind of recruits. So you see how we close everybody we go see? You see that? Have you noticed that yet? I'm going to get you to that point where you're going to do it just like that, and that's going to be easy for you to build a business and explode and make any kind of money you want. But it's going to be just like that. It's going to be incredible. That's the way you have to talk to people. If you're a closer, Primerica is like shooting ducks in a barrel. If you're a closer. If you're not a closer, it's like walking through mud. Right? It's easy when you can close. It's hard when you can't. That's why the reason you want to increase retention, teach people to close. You want people to stay around? What's the number one reason people leave?
Not make money.
No money. They don't make money. That's the only reason. When you guys quit Primerica, because some of you are going to quit, okay? All right? I don't know who you are, but some of you aren't going to be here a year or so from now. You won't. Oh, no, not me. I'm here forever. This is my last flag. I'm planting my flag right here. Yeah, right. Okay? You're going to leave because you don't make money. That's why you'll leave if you leave. The only reason your people leave is they don't make money, and the only reason they don't make money is because they can't close. Okay? So what could be more important than teaching your people how to close? What? Nothing. There's nothing more important than that. Nothing you could teach them that would be more important than teaching people how to overcome the objections, close, and get people to say yes. It's the most important thing you could possibly teach in Primerica. Right? Those of you doing well, you just have, even if you're not professionally trained, you somehow have the knack to getting people to say yes. You figured out how to do that. Okay? You got to keep reminding yourself, why do people come up with objections? Why are they afraid to go ahead? Why? The reason is always this. They're afraid of making a mistake. Everyone's afraid of making a mistake. The reason you don't close, why you don't recruit people, why you don't get a set of appointments, why you don't close sales, is the person you're talking to is afraid of making a mistake. Even the appointment, the mistake would be, I'm going to waste my time. That's the mistake. He's going to come over, she's going to come over, I'm going to waste my time, they're going to try to sell me something I don't want or need, and I'm going to waste my time. That's a mistake, right? If they're involved in some other, like life insurance policy and whatever they're doing, the reason they don't want to make a change is because they're afraid of making a mistake. It's always because they're afraid of making a mistake. They don't want to join Primerica because they're afraid if I get in, I'm going to fail at it, I'm not going to do well, it's not going to be like they said it was, and I'm going to make a mistake. It's always they're going to make a mistake is the real issue. So if you're sitting down with a client or a recruiter or anybody, you should bring it up. Say, Martin, usually when people are kind of hesitant about going ahead, the reason they're hesitant is they're afraid to make a mistake. If you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that by going forward, you would be actually doing the right thing for you and your family, in long range it would affect you in a really positive way, much better than the current track you're on right now, you would have no reservation in going ahead, would you? So really the big issue is you're afraid of making a mistake, isn't it? So if we could point everything out and lay it out so that you knew for beyond a shadow of doubt that you were not making a mistake, then at that point you'd feel comfortable to go ahead, wouldn't you? Okay, so let's revisit this one more time then. Let's go over the particulars one more time then. And then you go over the particulars one more time and prove step by step by step that he's not making a mistake, because the reason he's hesitant is because he's afraid he's making a mistake. Right? So if you got joined my business and you got involved with me and all of a sudden you got really good and you learned how to be really effective and you could recruit, train, and develop people, and your income went to, from the 50, 60 grand you're making right now to 100, 200, 300 grand, would that be a mistake? So really the real issue is you're not sure that could happen, and you're afraid of getting involved in it not happening and making a mistake, right? Because if you knew for sure that would happen, that you could actually do that, you wouldn't have any hesitation in going forward today, right? All right, let's go over how this works again. Let me show you why this works, why what we do is right, why our company's fantastic. Let me make sure you understand the compensation. Let me make sure you understand everything so that you can see that by going forward, you would be making the right move.
What I was saying is that last night I went on an appointment and the client was hesitating going ahead. And after explaining step by step how everything would happen, so I asked him, I said, so the only reason you kind of feel a little hesitant right now is because you feel like you made a mistake this last time, you don't want to make a mistake again. Would you agree with that? And he said yes. So let me go ahead and re-explain it to you again. And then the third time I explained it, then they got it. And I saw the lights turn on. But I noticed that a lot of people will get frustrated having to re-explain it because it makes sense to them, and they think the client should get it the first time, and they don't. It's the clarity part of it.
Okay, so then what happens when your client's afraid of making it going ahead or a recruit's afraid of going ahead, what really the issue is there's a lack of clarity. And when there's a lack of clarity, if people aren't understanding, it's your fault. Okay? When another person doesn't understand what you're sharing with them, it's not that they're stupid, it's you're a bad communicator. Okay? A lot of times you think that all these people just don't get it. No. You've got to be paid. He's really right. Sometimes I sit down, especially when you sit down with a client that maybe English isn't their first language or something, right? Where there's a new concepts to them that they've never seen before. It's completely foreign. And then you're explaining it to them, and you've seen it 1,000 times, so you go over. Blah, blah, blah. That's why I used to start my presentation. I'd say, Martin, as I'm going through this information, I've been through this hundreds of times, and I want you to be very careful. Sometimes I'll go through things quickly, and this is the first time you're seeing it, and you may not quite understand something. I want you to say, hey, wait a second, I didn't quite understand that. I want you to stop me and say, I didn't understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. I want you to do that because I want you to understand everything, because if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't understand it, you're going to have a hard time making any kind of decision, and I want you to feel really comfortable, okay? So make sure that if I'm not being clear, if you're not understanding it, Martin, it's my fault. Because I'm not being clear, and I don't want to do that. I want you to point out when I'm not being clear, okay? Would you help me out with that? And so what you do is if somebody didn't get something, I would explain it 3, 4, 5, 6 different times, different ways. If you notice when I speak, I use a lot of analogies. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to it. When I'm speaking, I'm always using analogies, because analogies are the very best way to teach something, because you try to find something that makes sense to them and you analogize it. That's the way I explain things. I'm always using analogies. I used one earlier about, what was I talking about? Copies. That's an analogy, that copy. You use copy, and then couldn't you see that more clearly, me saying that and understand it better after I use that analogy than if I just told you there's degradation? You would go, what the hell is degradation? You know what that means, right? So I explained it to you, right? I explained exactly what it was so that you could understand it more clearly, because my ability to get you to understand what I'm saying is going to determine whether whether you understand it and get it and are able to use it. If I can't get you to understand it, then I might as well be talking to the wall, right? So I've got to work very hard at being clear. To me, the most important thing when I'm talking to people is clarity. The level of clarity to which I speak is my main intention. When I'm speaking to you like right now, I'm trying to be very clear. I don't want you going out going, what did he say? What did he mean? I didn't understand that. If you walk out like that, I screwed up. I did a poor job. Same thing when you go into a client's home or a recruit's home. If they don't understand it, it's not their fault, it's your fault. You've got to work, you've got to be able to explain things multiple different ways, and you've got to be patient, because once they get it, they get it, right? My main intention is for them to write me a check. So I don't care if I have to explain it 10 different ways. If at the end of the night I get a check, I'm happy. So I'm not going to be getting frustrated as I'm sharing stuff. You getting frustrated with people is stupid. You're like to shoot yourself in the foot. Okay? What you got to do is get more clear. More clear, clarity, right? Haven't you, it's the perfect example always is VCRs. Trying to program a VCR is like, oh my God. When people put instructions, even computers, using computers and programs and stuff, they're so unclear, because the people that do these, they do them from their perspective of how they see things, and to them everything makes sense. But when me, that I don't understand computers, I see it, I go, holy cow, forget it. I can't do this, right? Rob, can you do this for me? I don't want to deal with it because it's too much energy to try to figure it out. You with me? So guess what? People in your business do the same thing. TiVo, on the other hand. TiVo is brilliant. If you don't have TiVo, you're nuts. You got to have TiVo, right? Because TiVo is so simple to use. Like I have a place in Newport. In Newport, I have Cox cable, right? With the similar to TiVo, and then I have DSS, the direct TV cable, TiVo. Night and day. The TiVo from DirecTV is about 5 bazillion times easier to use than Cox. It's way more complicated. It's incredible. So what do I want to do? I can't wait to get rid of it. Because it's too complicated. You know, I'm not stupid, but I mean, I don't want it to be hard. So guess what? Because it's not clear how it works. It just isn't. The way whoever designed it is too smart. Okay? Because the genius of everything, folks, is the simplicity of it. The more complex what you're doing, the fewer people can do it. Okay? That's why you smart people struggle so much in Primerica. The more educated you are, God bless you, okay, the more challenging Primerica becomes. Because you see things from where you're coming from as opposed to where the majority of people see things. And so you're constantly complicating and making things more complex than they need to be. Thinking, well, I need all that information, so everybody needs all that information. I need to tell everybody everything because I need to hear everything. Right? But they don't need all that stuff. People need things to be simple, really simple. The genius is in simplicity, folks. That's the genius. It's always the genius, okay? So keep things simple and clear and use lots of analogies, right? And if you notice, look, this is important too, as people get things, they get things based on their ability to understand something. So we understand things, folks, like something like 85% of what we learn use visual. It's really high. That's why when you're talking about stuff, if you're sitting with a client, if I'm sitting with a client explaining stuff, I always have a legal pad and a red pen. Because why would I use red? Because look at how it stands out. I always use red. Okay, red pen. These are really good. They're called Uniball Vision Elite. Anyways, they're great. So I use this, and I'm explaining that concept like I was explaining about, right now you have a house, you're making $60,000 a year. I'm actually writing all that out as I'm talking about it. I don't just say it, because if I'm just saying it, you're not seeing it. You're only getting about 10% of it if I'm saying it. But if I'm saying it and I'm writing it out, and you're seeing it plus you're hearing it, it's gigantic, the difference in the retention of the person experiencing what you're trying to get across. You should always be writing everything down and explaining it like that. Okay? So if I tell you that, the perfect examples I was using earlier, if I'm going, look, like right now, Mike, you make $60,000 a year, okay? That's what you make right now. So that works out to $5,000 a month. So if all of a sudden, and right now, Susie's making $40K, right? Which is about, what is that, about $3,300 a month, okay? So if all of a sudden that $5,000 a month goes away, and now your family has to live on $3,300 a month, how does that affect them? Can you see how looking at that is better than saying it only? Yes. Huh? Can you feel what I'm saying here? That's why as you're explaining stuff, you should be writing it out. So right now, you have 2 cars that are worth $100K, and you're spending $200 a month for those cars. $200, and I'm saying that you could replace this income. Your family could get $600,000 of cash, which equals $5,000 a month for only $100 a month, or whatever the number is, okay? And right now you're spending $200 for $100. You could get $600 for $100. Which one makes more sense to you? But if I just say it and he doesn't see anything, it doesn't have anywhere close to the same impact as him seeing it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So as you're presenting and you're discussing ideas and concepts with your clients, you should be writing all of this out and putting it in front of them so they can see it and hear it. Right? See it and hear it. It's a huge difference in their ability to understand what you're trying to convey to them and to feel it on a deeper level, which is going to allow them to make a decision. Does that make sense to you guys? It's very important what I'm saying here, okay? I always do this. I always want to make sure I write everything out and I spell out and I show it to them, because then they start to understand it on a different and deeper level, and their ability to go ahead increases dramatically, okay? It's very important to do that. Super, super important. All right? Because a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? That's the reason, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it really is. There's no question about that. So make sure you're teaching, okay? Just get in the habit. I mean, just keep asking yourself this question, right? Write this down. If everyone in my base shop could present and close like me, what would my business look like? Huh? You should ask yourself that question multiple times a day, every day. If everybody that I recruited could close and recruit and present like me, what would my business look like? All right? And then the next question, the last question is, what am I willing to do to make this happen? Okay? Because this is the question right here. If you don't, this is the real question. What are you willing to do to make sure that becomes a reality in your business? If you would tie complete freedom and financial independence to doing this, and understand that's the thing that's going to allow you to do that, you would be spending tons of time training people. Training. Not everybody, okay? This is important that you get. If you got a person that shows up every third week and says, I want to meet with you and sit down and do a train, not those people, okay? For me to sit down with somebody and spend an hour and a half with somebody, they better be motivated, because there's no possibility. How do I know if they're motivated? They don't miss the meetings, their behavior. They don't miss the meetings, they're showing up, they're listening to tapes, they're doing the things I'm asking them to do, they're making an attempt all the time. I've got to see physically they're on it and doing what they need to do. If they're not, then I'm not going to be spending that time with them. I'll let somebody else do it, but I'm not. Because I'm going to invest my energy in the people that show me they're serious and have the most potential to grow and take what I'm teaching and take it and run and do something with it. I'm not going to do that with somebody that's a professional learner but never does anything. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I'm dealing with the right people. And even the people that are already doing well, Brian, you still should see what they're doing, because if they're doing well, they could do better. And they're really sharp. And you could take them to another level potentially, right? You could not make them go from being very good to being really great and extraordinary. I mean, you should look at all of them. See what's going on, right? And then last but not least, I was talking to Martin at dinner the other night about this, and this is, I think, one of the big reasons why I've had a lot of success in my career, and I know that's kind of hit Martin pretty good, right, Martin? Yeah, I told him, and I'm going to write this out for you too, this is how I've always operated. I asked myself, like if something happens, let's say you have a chargeback, or you have you have a bad week in a bunch of dark houses, nothing happens, or maybe you had a bad day or whatever, right? When things aren't going well, right? And I would ask myself, I'd say, Hector, not what would Jesus do, okay? What would the average person do right now? let's say that you've had a rough month. You had a bad month, didn't close anything, didn't recruit anybody. It's just not going well for you. You ever had that happen yet? Okay, all right. So what would the average person do when everything's falling apart? Yeah, they would quit. They would hibernate. They would retreat. They would go into a shell. They would get despondent. They would get depressed. They would stop showing up. They would do a lot of things, right? Because I see people doing that all the time. Like when people aren't doing well, RVPs too. When they're not doing well, they don't come to the RVP meetings. They don't show up. They just don't. They think I don't notice it, but I know they don't show up. They're not here, okay? Or in the base shop, the same thing. They don't show up. Or they get, you could see they're just like, ugh, weight of the world's on their shoulders, right? So what would the average person do? Then do the opposite. I don't know, opposite. I don't know how you spell that, opposite, all right? Whatever, how you spell it, right? Doesn't matter. But the bottom line is do the opposite, right? So I always ask myself, Hector, what would a normal person do right now? And then I go, okay, you need to do the opposite. I would always do the opposite of what I thought a normal person would do. If you continually do the opposite of what normal people would do, you're gonna be a superstar. You will be a superstar, right? If you just made 5 contacts and everybody said no, the normal person would just go, this doesn't work, I give up and quit, or I'll try again tomorrow because I don't like the way this feels. But the opposite of that would be make 10 more calls, make something happen, get really focused, right? Get on more appointments, prospect more, do more. That's what, I was talking to Lynn. If he played basketball, he's a basketball player. I played basketball in high school and college, right? Steve, you would relate to this. When you're a shooter, right, and shooters go into slumps, yeah, Kobe has a bad day every now and then. I mean, there's people that are really great shooters that have bad stretches, right? That maybe normally shoot around 50%, and all of a sudden they're shooting 28%. That happens, okay? So what do? Stop shooting? No, what really great shooters do? They take more shots. They don't stop shooting because they know that it's just one little thing. It's usually mental, and they just keep on shooting. Eventually it's going to click back, and they're going to get their confidence again. They don't stop. It's like playing golf. If I have a bad 9 holes, right? I don't go, I'm no good, I can't do this. Man, my goal is, okay, on the backside, that's over with. Okay, let me see what I can do on the backside. I get refocused, and maybe I could turn this around and maybe shoot a couple under and turn and make it a decent round, right? I don't think about quitting. I'm having a bad day, I can't do this. I suck, I might as well quit. I don't think that. I think, what can I do to get more focused and turn it around and get momentum going in my direction again, right? How can I get it turned around? How can I start going in the right direction again? So just think about what normal people do and do the opposite. You can see all the normal people. They're all around you in Primerica. What you don't want to do is do what they're doing. Okay? You want to do the opposite of what they're doing. People have a rough day. You get busy, man. You get busy. You do more. You make more calls. Get more focused. Correct? Yeah. Right. All right? So that's what you do. This is a thing I live by. What would the average person do right now? And do the opposite. I've been doing that my whole life. Like right now, okay? Folks, if you were making the kind of money, I made $380,000 last month, okay? I'm confident I'm going to make between $5 and $6 million this year. What would the average person do that was in that position and had the kind of money I had saved? What would they do? Stop working, they wouldn't do anything, right? They do very little, which most of them do. So I asked myself this question, Hector, what would the person that's making the kind of money, has the kind of business you have, has the freedom you have, what would they do? They'd basically shut it down, right? That ain't me. So then what am I doing right now? I'm working harder. I'm working to get my base shop going. I put together a whole new training program that we're going to be unveiling pretty soon here. I've done a bunch of stuff lately, and I'm working at it hard. I started creating the Super Saturday with my first generations to get that going. I'm doing all kinds of stuff to make things move because I don't want to do what the normal person does. I'm going to do the opposite of what the normal person would do in my situation, okay? That's what the normal person would do. Now, you got things going, Kurt. You got a base shop that's, you're doing pretty good. You're not doing what you can do, but you're at 60 grand 2 months in a row, right? And what would the normal person do right now? They cool it. They let up. They take their foot off the pedal. They'd stop recruiting directs. They stop field training. They start managing. That's what the normal person would do. You don't want to be that person, Okay? You don't want to be that person. You've got to do the opposite of what the normal person would do when they start doing well. In Primerica, when people do well in Primerica, the very first thing you do, they stop recruiting directs, they stop field training, they start managing, and it's the beginning and the end for them. Okay? They don't know it. They think, no, I'm different, Hector. I'm different. I'm really good. Yeah, right. Okay? Nobody's that good. Okay? Nobody's that good. Do the opposite. Do the opposite. Okay? Always do the opposite. If you do that consistently, you'll be amazed at how you'll start beating up your competition like a drum, right? You won't have any problem with it.